Coming up, I'm going to be giving a parenting class, but you know what it's like if you're in a big, tough job and you finally reach the end of the road. Well, it's quite a relief to get away, isn't it? Particularly if you're an outgoing Prime Minister. Let's look at him in action.
Thank you very much. Right.
I'm surprised he didn't do one of those kicks when he kicks his heels together as well.
He probably did
Well,
when he closed the door.
To copy the Prime Minister, right. I have to ask you, listeners to my radio show, we had a vote as to what we thought he was humming. In second place was The Simpsons. In first place was The Great Escape, which could possibly be true. Rachel, did you pick up anything from that, or it could just be anything? Any set of notes? Not quite sure.
Just a random tune.
He went do.
Clearly happy to go, Greg.
I think he was just happy.
Yeah.
Truth. I think he, you know, all the pressure for all those years, and suddenly he thought, I'm free.
Yeah.
And also,
Yeah.
what a graceful exit. I mean, he's the Vanity Fair, dressed in Savile Row suit version of a Prime Minister, and I think, you know, he's going to be missed.
Family.
And he can spend
missed.
more time, of course, with his children, which leads me on to this. Let's get one thing straight. Being a parent doesn't make you a better or more able person by right. Speaking as a father, what I think it can do, though, is help focus in crystal clear vision what your life should be about. I'm blessed. I had superb parents. And the best job I have ever had, or will ever have, is being a dad to my two sons. Now, while Andrea Leadson's comments about Theresa May being childless were heartless and cold, and almost certainly did for her chances to ever win the race to lead the Conservatives, there can be no doubt becoming a dad or a mum opens your eyes to so much that it would be simply impossible to comprehend otherwise. When your child goes into hospital for an operation, we all mutter or say out loud prayers offering anything in exchange for a safe outcome. I know I have. Andy Murray said immediately after winning at Wimbledon that being a father brought him determination and focus, and he's right. You're not a lesser person if you don't have any children, just less rounded.
Well, when you're pregnant, you're certainly rounded.
Nice
More
line.
rounded.
Nice
But I think that if somebody ever starts a sentence or an argument as a mother or speaking as a mum, they've lost the argument. Because I just don't think that is the determining factor on whether you're a competent human being able to do a job. And the thing that annoys me about this subject hugely is that men are never analysed in terms of whether they have procreated, whether they have brought new life into the world. It's irrelevant. But when it's a woman in the public eye, the first thing everyone talks about is whether she's got kids. And so, yes, being a mother or a father does bring you a perspective. It also makes you incredibly tired.
Has your life been enriched by being a mum?
Of course it's been enriched. It's also been exhausted, impoverished.
Of course.
And you know, in lots of ways, shredded.
And exhilarated, and your heart has been torn, and you've had the darkest nights possible. Please God, your children haven't been ill, but...
This does not affect my ability to do a job.
Do you remember what I said right at the top?
Yeah, that's what
I said right at the top. It doesn't make you a better person by... But it does broaden your life experiences. Of course it does. Let's just look at what Andrea Leadsom... It's quite important. Hold on, come back. Let's just take a look. We're going to show you exactly what Andrea Leadsom said. Here we are. I feel that being a mum means you have a very real stake in the future of our country, a tangible stake. She, talking of Theresa May, possibly has nieces, nephews, but I have children who are going to have children, by the way, how does she know that, who will directly be a part of what happens next. Clumsy and wrong. Clumsy and wrong.
Can I just make one point? If you have children, and I have 3 children, I think actually it means that you are invested in their future, sometimes at the expense of other people's children.
That's a great
For
point.
example, you want to send them to private school. You want them to get a train. You can pay for them to have an internship in a posh company, but at the expense of those who can't afford a private education and don't have access to the bank of mum and dad. So actually, parents are not the ones who are completely invested in the future of all children.
I really want to come to June because I think our marriage might be back on. I've actually seen you nod for the first time. I think you're nodding. I've hit on something.
Yeah,
with you,
look, where's my ring? Where's my ring? I actually agree with you on this one. I'm not a parent. I'm not a mother. I hope to be one day. And I think being a parent does make you more rounded. It does. You know, my sister has children, and, you know, what she says in terms of how it's opened her heart. It's opened her heart in a way that it didn't before having kids. So, for sure, I agree. But what I don't agree with was Andrea Leadson's comment, which I thought was so below the belt, and she knows that Theresa May did want children. It didn't happen. And, sorry, to say that 20% of the population do not have a stake in the country because they don't have children is just absurd.
I agree. Greg?
I thought it was calculated.
It was.
I think she was...
Machiavelli again over it.
Yeah, it's old Machiavelli going back in. I
Mean-spirited.
thought she was going to this election, and I think she was trying to appeal to a certain sort of woman.
She was speaking to the Shires.
In the Shires in the Conservative Party.
Do you really?
Yes, I do. Of a certain...
She was.
And I think it rebounded on her appallingly.
Do you think that cost her...
Yes.
Without doubt.
And rightfully so.
Well, I think she disintegrated over days, didn't she? Yeah. I mean, you start by showing that you hadn't done all the things you claimed you'd done on your CV. Well, let's have a look at all your CVs and see if they're that accurate. But if you add that to what happened, and then to this, I think what you saw was somebody disintegrating, as you suddenly realised she was a disaster.
What you do see in elections when there's a childless woman against a woman, a mother, the childless woman, the mother always somehow lets it be known that the mother is procreated.
I don't know how many kids... How many you have? 2 or 3?
4.
4, I'm so sorry, 4. You've been busy. How's your life been enriched by being a dad?
And how's
Well, I was young when I went in and I was old when I came out. That's what I always think about having children. When I left the BBC, I just thought, I'm now going to spend more... I use the old politician, I'm going to spend more time with my family. And what I discovered is that my family didn't want to spend that much more time with me. And there is something... No, it's a wonderful experience.
Yeah, of course.
And I wish I... But I don't think it's a disaster in life if you don't have children.
Of course not.
No. I just think it's a different experience. And I think she made well, as I say, I think it was a calculated statement that backfired badly on her.
Make you a better person?
Well, I think your point's is right, that actually the danger is...
You become a tigress for your own kids.
You become so much for your own kids that, does it make you a better person?
Andy Murray said it helped him win Wimbledon on the
But
weekend.
that's different to
Does it
being
make
a
you a better
leader.
person? No, I don't understand. I think we're stating the obvious. We're sitting here and saying when you've got children, you have a different perspective on life. Yeah, well, of course you do, because you've got children. You've been through a different experience. But if you travel the world, you have a different perspective on life. If you have a serious illness which you recover from, you have a different perspective on life.
You're right,
I'm not really sure what's
I
the
shouldn't
point.
have said better person. I should have said better sportsman or sportswoman or better businessman
I know,
or
but
businessman.
where were the headlines saying, as a dad, it's because I was a dad that I won Wimbledon?
No, but
you see,
hang on,
if a mother had said...
Excuse me, page
won
3 of the
Wimbledon,
Daily Telegraph, the whole page was devoted to the fact that it was the determination, I've got it there, that having his child...
Nobody criticised him, did because it wasn't as if
he
he was
won
saying
Wimbledon
he was better.
3 years ago.
Yeah, but he says he's more focused
He
now.
didn't
So
win
he's more
Wimbledon because he's just had a
So
child.
it was nothing to do with the
He-
fact that Djokovic got knocked out in the first round.
Look, I think we can also bring you... let's see what Andy Murray actually said. I think
reasons
we've got that as well.
Being a father doesn't necessarily make you a better tennis player, but it's given me, again, extra motivation to work hard and train and make myself a better tennis player. I didn't just become a better tennis player after having a child. I need to, still put in all of the hours of work, and, she's given me a bit of extra motivation to do that for sure.
Can I just say, if that's what he's like when he's happy, I don't know. I'm so pleased he won, but oh boy, man alive, what would it be like if he lost?
But
Michelle?
the key for me in this is about motivation. I believe that if you want to succeed and achieve things, you've got to have something inside you that drives you. I always say you've got to know your why. Why am I doing this? Why do I want this? Why am I going to keep going when it's getting really hard? And your why, your motivation can be anything. Of course, children
So it
would
could
be a
be.
part
So
of
you
that.
agree? It could be.
Of course,
Yeah,
it could be children, but it could be a million other things. I don't have children.
We
Mainly
can't
because
deny.
I've not yet found a decent enough man, but when I do, I would love to have children.
Right.
But when I do have
Greg
those
is
children...
looking at me.
Oh, is he?
No, you're the single.
But when I have children, of course that will give me an added spare, but not to the detriment of anything else, or it wouldn't make me better than anybody else either. I just think we're stating the obvious, and
But
I don't really
that's
get the
not
point.
what Nick is saying. He's saying it makes you more rounded, and
Yeah.
I think it does. And
But
I
so
mean,
do a lot of things. I'm not less rounded because I don't have a kid. I've travelled the world. That's made me rounded on one side.
But there's experiences and emotions and sensations
that are triggered
currently,
that
and
only
I
come
wish you nothing
from
but success, and I'm sure you
parenthood.
will be
I
a
agree
parent
with
if you
you.
want to be.
Yeah.
You don't know what it's like. Watching your son or daughter going down for surgery, having anaesthetic,
Yeah.
I
I
cannot
agree.
tell you
Yeah, I
the
would agree
pain
with
that you
that.
have.
Yeah, I
and I
agree.
would trade a limb, and I mean it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, you would.
would trade a limb.
No, I
if
can
I'm told,
agree. I
I
can
would
agree
just say,
with that.
which one do you want?
I mean, there is something about when you have kids, up to that moment you have your first child, by and large in life you've done what you want,
selfish.
just for you. And suddenly there is this thing that just demands of you. And because you've got this irrational relationship with it, that is irrational, it's just love, it changes your life. But I don't think that's anything to do with being the Prime Minister.
No,
That's
I
agree.
agree.
Yeah. We agree with that.
The dots in my head. I don't get it because I'm not disputing if
No.
you have a child
Yeah,
that it's
we agree
poorly,
with
it
that.
breaks your heart. I don't dispute that, but I don't know what it's got to do with being a Prime Minister or a tennis player or...
Coming back to
I
my
get it.
line, about the Tory shires. I always remember a story that somebody in the South told me from the Conservative Party who said that Margaret Thatcher came to want to get the Conservative nomination for that constituency, and she didn't get it. And she didn't get it because a Tory woman stood up at the front when she was out the room and said, "That woman is a bad mother."
Yes,
And now
it's
I
true.
think that's still there in certain sections of the Conservative Party.
It is.
I think we have to realise that people who don't have children will probably have found this whole discussion deeply offensive. The
Well,
idea
gosh.
that
I don't have
people
children.
who've got children have got a future in the stake of this country
Madness.
and they don't.
Yeah, absolute madness.
certainly
And
never-
That's ridiculous
And back to
statement.
Rachel's point, it's always that pressure is always put on women. No one says that about a man who doesn't have a child. So, yeah.
But I recall finishing the introduction by saying just because it doesn't make you a lesser person. Now, I actually said it. It certainly doesn't. It just makes you less rounded until you came up with your excellent line because of the experiences and emotions you will enjoy and endure. You'll do both as a mum or a dad. That's the truth of the matter, isn't it?
But we all should want a stake in this country. We all should want the best
But
for
we
the
have
country
it
and everyone
anyway.
that lives in it. Yeah, exactly. And we have that with children, without children, single, married, who cares?
Nieces or nephews.
Both.